Welcome to the Yerba Power Podcast, where we share the power of Yeramate with the world. I'm Devin, your host of the podcast, and today's guest is Ikaroyaramate in Baltimore, Maryland, in the United States. What they do is they brew Yeramate and put it in a can. Now, I'm oversimplifying that, but the reason why this is important is because the way they process that yeramate. In other words, they brew it just like you would any other tea and infuse it with fruits naturally and then just chill it and add carbonation. So it's a whole different process instead of using extracts. So that's interesting to hear that process that Sergio, the founder of the company, is going to explain in the episode, as well as his origin story, kind of how he started drinking yerba mate and how it became a company and what their company is doing to give back, to donate to Living Classrooms is what it's called. It's after school program for kids, and talks about kind of the meeting of the two worlds. In other words, yerba mate with American culture, and then with sodas and the quick and go grab kind of culture. And talk about some of his most popular brands that they have, and just and shares a couple good facts. So I hope you enjoy the episode. I plan to put this up on YouTube as well, so you can watch it on YouTube. If you go up there and do me a huge favor, just subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, but it helps out me a whole lot, and with the algorithms, with spreading the power and the sharing the message of yerba mate with the world. I first learned about Ikaroyaramate through Yerba Crew. Jason, he pointed me out about them, and I hit up Icaro for information. They sent me a case to try out some of their stuff. So that way I felt confident about bringing them on because I've actually tried their cans. I recommend the mint. It's pretty good. Raspberry as well. If you like lemon, they got a lemon sage and hibiscus. So those are a couple flavors that they talk about. Yerba Crew is also a sponsor of the podcast. They are doing a lot to share the power and love of yerba mate. They're in the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia, but as well as throughout the world, and making the connections. If you want to try some of their yerba, which I like, Anna Park is one of my number one that they sell, as well as La Merced is a really good one. You can get it on the website at yerbacrew.com. And if you use PowerPod20 as a discount, you get 20% off. They also have new thermoses that they just rolled out, as well as a new gourd, the Estancia is what it's called. So that's a tribute to the Argentine state, or like a ranch, I guess, kind of like a cattle ranch. So like the gauchos and stuff. It's a wooden gourd. It has a beautiful metal trim on top. I have the Iguazu Blue. It's a ceramic gourd, as well as their starter Black Condor. They also have a white stainless steel one, glacier white one. So go to yerbacrew.com, use checkout code PowerPod20, or I'll put it in the link with a direct code that you can use to get 20% off your order at yerbacrew.com, PowerPod20. Thanks. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Yerba Power Podcast, where we share the power of yerba mate with the world, joined by Sergio here of Icaro Yerba Mate. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing Icaro, not Icaro, correct?
Yes, although we do, for our American audience, we do accept Icaro, so either one works.
Wonderful. Yeah, because I think I asked Sid, your business partner, about that too, just to make sure I was pronouncing it correct. Because I didn't tell you this, but my wife was actually born in Cochabamba in Bolivia, so I'm familiar with Quechua, just like very basic, a few words and stuff. Nice. But like the bamba means like land, tierra, and so like things like that, just little. But so I was like, okay, like this is not a Spanish word, but well, anyway. So Sergio, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, Devin.
And so without, I want you to share the story, not me to share it, what I understand of it, because, anybody can read the bio, but, why I mentioned the Quechua and what the word comes from, because that's part of your origin story of getting started with Yeromate, correct?
Yes, yeah. we actually have almost two different origin stories that have inspired Ikaroyaramate. On the one hand, we have the more kind of cultural, emotional story, which is from my background. But both my parents are from Peru. When I was about 10 years old, we actually moved to Urubamba, which is the sacred valley outside of Cusco, up in the mountains. It was the capital of the Inca Empire. And that was my first experience with Yeromate and just with mate in general. There's a lot of different types of mate, actually. So in the altitudes in Peru, in Cusco, it's super, super high up. It's like higher elevation than Denver, Colorado. And so I would always get soroche, which is altitude sickness, whenever I visit. And every hotel there will serve you a cup of mate, nice and hot, and it helps tremendously with the altitude sickness. So that was kind of my my introduction to mate was due to the asthma. I have asthma and had it as a kid, and so I would drink this. But then it kind of shifted once we were living there. I was about 10 or 11, and there were some older kids who were about 16, and there was some Uruguayans and an Argentinian, and we would just, all get together and like pass around the gourd of mate in the traditional way that's drank in Argentina and Uruguay and Paraguay, and pass around this gourd. And for me, was very much, it's the first kind of like ritual and kind of like routine around like the social, kind of like the social gathering that you see among teenagers and young adults. It was my first introduction to it. So it gave me this very special connection where, even when I came to the U.S., I would, bring a gourd back with me from South America whenever I'd visit, and bring some Yeromate and like introduce it to my friends. And it was just kind of like, it was something that was, for me as an immigrant, something that I could share from back home, but that also formed a lot of connections with my friends here as this cool novelty that I was bringing. And so for me, it was always this kind of melding and merging of cultures, almost the same way you get around, like a dinner table where you have this kind of like communal aspect of, conversation and culture. So on the one hand, we have that, which is kind of my experience with it, why I wanted us to get into Yeromate. But what really inspired kind of this other side, which is more of the commercialization, which is, the more American side, which is this, the fast casual, grab and go, this kind of more individualistic aspect of American society. So that side of the business actually was inspired by my brother Adam, who does a lot of our R&D, or actually does almost all of our R&D. He's a professional musician by trade, and when he was touring in Germany, he noticed that there was this drink called Club Mate, which is it's very big in Europe. And he was like, like it's crazy. It was like so ubiquitous at the bar scene there, and in like the music scene, where like instead of like a Red Bull vodka, people would ask for a Club Mate vodka, and like if you were tired, people would give you a Club Mate, and like it was like the go-to drink, the go-to pick-me-up drink within the like music scene in Europe, or at least in Germany. And so we had this kind of meeting of two worlds a little bit, where I'd been interested in us starting to do some kind of mate, and kind of just kind of going back to my South American roots. And then Adam tasted this Club Mate and had this idea for a, cold sparkling yerba mate, which is very, very different than what we drink in South America. And, to some South Americans, maybe a bit of a twisting of the original form of the drink. But to me, as a Peruvian American, it's this amazing meeting of two worlds. So that's going to be the origin of Ikaroyaramate, and kind of the two meetings, the traditional as well as the functional, modern functional, traditional, cultural aspects of mate, and how they kind of converge to the drink that we now offer, which is in a can, and it's a canned carbonated cold yerba mate drink. So yeah, that's a little bit of the background for us specifically. As for the name, I know you were touching on the Quechua aspect. So the name Icaro is a word in Quechua, which is the indigenous language of Peru, or really the indigenous language of the Incas, which was an empire that stretched across, from Colombia down to Chile, pretty much across all of the Andes in South America. And so it's a nod to my Peruvian heritage. But we also donate 1% to living classrooms for music and arts education for every can that we sell of Ikaroyaramate. And so in that sense, again, we wanted to kind of blend the heritage and kind of like our more American mission. And so we named it Icaro, which means sacred song in Quechua, because we're donating for music and arts education to living classrooms in Baltimore. We've actually had our team go down there and we've taught the kids how to make like pickles, and taught them about fermentation, since we make kombucha as well. So it's something where we really wanted this to be something that could bring the community together, not just in a metaphorical sense, but in a very literal sense, where we went down there and brought some cases with us, and actively had our team participate, and get to know the kids in the Living Classrooms program in Baltimore City.
That's beautiful and well said. And just for clarification, and so it's like the arts and music program is like the Living Classroom?
Living Classrooms is a program that does several things. I would say the most important one is, or I'd say that the chief one among them is after school programs for like low income families that can't afford, like maybe can't afford to have to work late and can't afford childcare after school. And so this is a program that allows kids to go after school and not only participate in events, but like have set set programs that they can do after school that help them as well as the community that they're in. And they have classrooms in Baltimore, as well as some other mid-Atlantic cities. But we work directly with the Living Classrooms in Baltimore, particularly in Baltimore City, which is where we're located.
Yeah, I love that you have it kind of like Mate on a mission.
Yeah.
Where it's like you said, combining these two worlds of taking what we know about Yeramate and the health benefits and things that listeners, I'm sure, are aware of, that I've talked about all the time, but taking those health benefits, but putting it in a different presentation. And although, people traditionally will say that, whatever they say, but it's still the essence of Yeramate. It's still promoting Yeramate. It's still taking the good part of it and then using it for good. And so, I mean, what can you say negative about that? But then also using that in an extra layer of giving back to your community. So I commend you on that. And is this, so did you grow up in Baltimore?
Yeah. So so when I was about 8 years old, we moved up to Baltimore. So I grew up in Lima until I was about 7 or 8. And then we moved here and I didn't speak any English. had to learn from scratch. So that was interesting.
Wow, I never would have guessed. You're.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. My wife still teases me and says I don't have.
I'm sure there's certain words, just same with my wife, that every once in a while, I give her a hard time about certain words.
Yeah. And then it slips out a little bit. So yeah, we moved here when I was 8 and kind of jumped around a little bit between Lima and Urubamba when I was in 4th grade. And always seemed to come back here to Baltimore. There was always something kind of pulling us back here.
That's cool. I'm not familiar with too much of Baltimore. I've been up there. It's been a while. Love the harbor. And that's pretty much most of what I know about it. And that it's colder. I went up there last time helping a friend move back to New York, actually, and it was snowing. It doesn't really snow much around here, so it was just impressive to me. But I also admire that in the north there's more mix of cultures and things. That there was a really good Peruvian restaurant in Chicago that I went to at one time. So I don't know if there's things like that exist in Baltimore as well, or.
Oh yeah. There's actually a restaurant. I'll just give them a free shout out called Puerto 511. So Port 511 or Puerto 511. It's a Michelin star chef from Lima who came up here, Jose.
Oh wow.
Spectacular Peruvian food.
I bet he was on one of those cooking shows, Andrew Zimmerman or whatever. Because I know he went down there to Peru a lot, to a lot of great chefs down there. So.
Oh yeah. Lima is one of the cuisine capitals of the world for sure.
And so, sorry to sidetrack you a little bit, but I am curious about Baltimore. Like, is there a yerba mate scene down there? Besides, okay, you mentioned the restaurant, but are there other stores or other things that you collaborate with, or people that we should know about up there as well?
Nothing local actually. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the bigger brands on the market, like Guayaki, Clean, Steez. You can find those in like major grocery stores, but that's really about it. Which is obviously plays to our benefit to some extent, where we're kind of like the first local company that's doing Yeromate in any form. I will say Baltimore doesn't have a very large Hispanic population, whereas cities like DC or New York have very large Hispanic populations. Mm-hmm. So we haven't had a lot of, I would say like Hispanic flavors or food or drinks in comparison to other mid-Atlantic cities. And so, yeah, we're as far as I know, we are the first Yeromate company in Baltimore City, or just in Baltimore metro area in general. Mm-hmm. Our whole model is starting from the beginning of our business when we were just making kombucha was to diversify. So yes, work with some of the bigger retailers and grocery stores, but also focus a smaller distribution network to cafes and independent retailers, because a lot of the distro right now is kind of very like large volume. So there's like very high minimums that you have to meet, and a lot of restaurants and cafes and like cocktail bars, for example, they don't have a lot of room, so it's kind of hard for them to spend $1,500 on drinks and supplies. So we've created this model of like a very low minimum, where we offer a few products. We make the kombucha and the yeramate, but we also offer a couple other products as well that we don't make. So we're just, we have the manufacturing as well as the beverage distribution side. And so when we go to these cafes, it's almost like you get free marketing for your products, because you build this relationship with the store owners and the staff. And so they're much more likely to then recommend your product. They themselves have tried it. If they like it, they have a connection to you, to your story. And so in that sense, we've seen a very good reception, and we're really starting to gain some traction. Unfortunately, when we launched Icaro, it was 2020, and we launched it in February. And so all of the marketing budget we had was basically just flushed down the drain when April hit. And so we kind of had to start from scratch. Once the lockdowns kind of ended, we were able to start back up again, but with almost no fanfare whatsoever. We've really seen a lot of traction, and it's really starting to take off, which is great and quite a relief, because it's always, anytime you launch a product where the category isn't super set within the US, you're running a risk that people may not, the American consumers may not find the same attachment to it as, say, yerba mate, traditional yerba mate consumers in Argentina and Uruguay, Peru, so forth. So yeah, we've had a very, very good reception. Really, what I would say differentiates us from a lot of these big brands that you find in like the kind of the C-store channel, and in grocery, like big grocery, is that we don't use any kind of extracts. Like most of these bigger brands, actually, I think every single big brand uses some type of extract. The big names use yerba mate extract. And some of the smaller brands, while they may brew their yerba mate, they add, like natural flavors, whatever those can be. As well as like, flavor extracts. What really differentiates us is we use real brewed tea. So we brew yerba mate in like a big brew kettle with hot water. So just like, making tea like you would at home. We use a mix of green and roasted yerba mate. And we flavor it with an infusion of organic herbs, or like, for example, the raspberry flavor I'm drinking right now, we use organic heirloom raspberries and blueberries from the Northwest. And we literally just like infuse them as like a cold infusion. So we infuse them in the cold tea. We let them, infuse for a couple hours and then pull them out. For example, our lemon sage flavor, we use like organic dried lemon pieces. We put them in these big tea bags, and then we filter the yerba mate through it, kind of in a circular, like closed loop filtration. And basically it's what's called a hop back. So you can like cold infuse ingredients in just a natural way into the product. It gives it a very, very, aromatic and natural flavor, where it's not, like when you put extracts, you get that kind of tanniny aftertaste, which yerba mate does have a little bit of that tanny aftertaste, but when you make it an extract, it changes the flavor. You don't get the same kind of it kind of takes something away from the product. You're not actually getting. And sure, like you can make the argument that, from the Argentinian standpoint, that if you carbonate and make yerba mate carbonated and cold, you're already kind of, you're already going in a very different direction, so to speak. But to me, I think you're keeping the essence of yerba mate. You're still making yerba mate with hot water like you would. You're just cooling it down and then just like, carbonating it. Whereas with extracts, really, at that point, you're really moving away from the essence here. It's almost like it's almost like you could say that's a different drink entirely. Because you're not actually having the same process of brewing the hot tea and steeping the yerba mate, to get to the end result. You know what I mean?
So it's a difference of, you guys are literally just brewing and infusing tea and then making it cold and adding carbonation, versus taking kind of essentially oils or other parts of it to form a beverage is I guess what you're getting at, the difference there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I would make the argument that using extracts is much more uh it's much more similar to like a soft drink, where you're adding a concentrated syrup,
Mm,
and then you're just diluting it down. When you use extracts and concentrates, it's very much like that. Um,
that makes sense. Kind of like you have the opposite direction instead of you're making it colder and add some bubbles versus having cold bubbles and then adding stuff to it, I guess, essentially, or like syrup.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, we have the same. If you drink our yerba mate before it is carbonated and um, before we add like the raspberries or the lemon juice or the mints, like our mint flavor, like if you drink that while it's hot, if you drink it out of a gourd, it's going to be exactly the same as any Argentinian, Uruguayan drinking out of a gourd and passing it around with their friends. Um, so you can, like we stayed true to that.
So,
We're staying true to that tradition, um, and just adding one extra step to also make it appeal to the American kind of grab and go, fast paced crowd that we have here in the DMV area in the Mid Atlantic. And yeah, I would say that's much closer and much more true than say a concentrate that you can get out of a test tube in a lab. It's at that point I think you ventured quite a distance from the traditional, passing around a gourd with your friends and with hot tea, hot yerba mate.
that's interesting. Thanks for explaining that, because I can see why, for those that are listening to this, I know are more passionate about it or just figuring out. But I've said this also too, and I'm obviously you resonate with this. Is it's kind of the argument of what you consume, but how you consume it as well. So just because you eat fruit, but if the way it's processed, it's like, is it still fruit or is it just really juice at that point? And I guess not to get on a too far of a discord there, but yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that that's great that you guys are preserving that in a healthy way, and I've tried, just for the listeners that sound like too much of a fanboy or something, but you guys did send me a sample to try. The mint was my favorite, but I'm a big fan for mint, and then I think the raspberry was probably my close second. Um, there's also you mentioned lemon sage. Um, let's see, what else am I missing? Another one?
We have a hibiscus flavor as well.
Hibiscus, that's it. Yeah. And then, do you guys still have the plain straight yerba mate?
Oh, we
Discontinued?
we discontinued that one for the moment. We probably will have to bring it back. I have several friends actually that still ask me about it and ask me when we're going to release it again. We discontinued that one because the sales weren't there when we first launched it. Again, it was during COVID, like during all the COVID lockdowns. So I think at some point we will release that, or re-release that, I should say. Just at the moment, honestly, we've just had a lot of things played, a lot of fish to fry, so to speak, and so we kind of put that on the back burner. But it is something that's there. We haven't forgotten about it, and we have the recipe ready to
go. Okay. Well, the reason I mentioned it is because I checked out you guys, profile and stuff, the Instagram, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I didn't know about that flavor. Like the plain, I got to try the plain flavor and see how that is, and the other cool thing about it, that those that are, like watching or listening that haven't seen you guys' website and stuff, but I'll put everything in the show notes and description and whatnot. But that one, the designs you guys have are really cool, and that plain yerba one has the yama on it, and it's just cool looking. That's the other cool thing I really kind of like. I know it's, but I guess I think that's important to you guys too, is with being in art and music and education, kind of another thing, the presentation. I know it's just really, really nice. The little animals, I guess, on the front of it. So shout out to whoever the designer artwork. Cool stuff.
Yeah, we have a local artist that does all of the artwork on our cans and bottles and labels. They actually did a mural by hand in our tap room, which is really something else. Yeah, incorporates like the ingredients we use, and it's really incredible. She did it all by hand, so yeah.
Oh, nice.
Saba's the artist. She's incredible. Definitely a big shout out to her.
Yeah, we'll have to tag her here, or maybe if you can send me a picture of the mural, that'd be cool. But for later. So speaking of those flavors, what has been the most popular?
It's actually the mint flavors are best seller. It's the most popular. We found that when we were studying the market, it seems like mint is one of the, if not the favorite within the whole category in the U.S. market. My personal favorite is the new one, which is the raspberry you mentioned. I think maybe, anytime we have a new flavor come out, I drink so much of them that I kind of just gravitate towards the new flavor in general. But the raspberry I really love. The raspberry is my favorite fruit, so I'm very biased.
Yeah. Well, I think mint, though, I think that it's just in general, that's kind of all palates can, agree on it, I would say, so I guess you can't go wrong with that versus someone might not like raspberry, but they like, lemons, I'm saying, and some people hate lemon. So, I'm just curious, do you have any plans for like a blueberry?
So we actually have, we have blueberries in the raspberry flavor. We do a mix of raspberry and blueberries that we like cold steep. So we probably won't do a blueberry in of itself. I think we kind of wanted to go back to like the smoky, like the original one had a lot more roasted yerba mate, had a very like smoky profile, which is kind of what you get when you drink it from the gourd. So I think we kind of wanted to go that direction with the next flavor, just something a little bit more traditional that's going to let you taste the kind of like earthiness and smokiness of a traditional traditional yerba mate.
Well, are you able to let any of the listeners know when that might possibly be?
I would say probably this time next year, realistically.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out on you. And keep us up to date. We'll follow them on Instagram. I'll put it down below. Are you guys anywhere else besides Instagram that people can follow you along with you guys besides the website?
We have a Facebook. I think we would TikTok. That I'm not so sure, to be quite frank. I know we started one from kombucha, but I'm not sure if that was for both Yeromate and kombucha, or it was just kind of like a general. But that's beyond my pay grade.
Yeah. You're not doing the dancing for the company, huh?
Luckily not.
Yeah. Well, Sergio, is there anything else you want the listeners to know about you guys or yourself, the company, or just Yeromate in general? Anything you'd like the listeners to know?
We launched a Shopify platform. So we're actually selling Ikaroyaramate across, it's available to ship across the entire mainland US.
Congratulations.
To our website. It's icarot.com. So ICAROTEA.com. If you use the code Icarot, you get 15% off your first order. And then we also do a subscription plan. So if you subscribe, you'll receive 1 box a month. You can pick the flavor. We also have mixed packs that have all the flavors in them, all 4 flavors. If you subscribe, you get 1 a month or more if you like. But if you subscribe, you get 10% off all your orders. And anytime we have a new flavor come out, we will send you a box for free with some swag, like a hat or shirt, as well as the new flavor. So all of our subscribers are the first to try all of our new flavors.
Sweet, yeah.
For the release.
Nice. Congratulations getting it all out there across the whole U.S. So don't have to live in Baltimore to try it now.
Yes. Yeah. And it's the only one of our products that we ship nationwide. Our kombucha is not available nationwide.
Thanks, Sergio, for your time. And so Ikarotea.com. You can subscribe there, save 10%, or Icaro is the coupon code, get 15% off, correct?
Yep.
Cool. I'll put that all in the show notes. That's, you guys get a discount. So can't say I didn't help you out. And then, well, I thank you once again, for coming in and sharing your story, and proud of you guys for what you're doing for Yeramate and for your family and for the arts and for the schools. Because definitely have a big heart for education myself, being in the education industry for so many years, working in ESL and things like that. So, anyways, so proud of you guys. Thanks
for
so
much, and thank you for having us on. I really appreciate your time as well, Devin. Love that you're promoting Yeromate. My wife is half Argentinian, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah. She's going to be very, very excited to hear this. And my father-in-law, who's from Buenos Aires, is going to be, ecstatic to hear it.
Wonderful. And so, we'll have it on Spotify for you guys and anywhere else you're streaming. And if we ever go up there, I'll be sure to let you know, get us some yerba and empanadas or whatever. So, or lomo saltado.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That's
all right, Sergio.
Yeah, Devin.
Till next time. All right, take care, buddy.
Take care.
Bye-bye.